Good morning. Today comes news that Donald Trump, former President Donald Trump, has been indicted. This is an outrage. Now, I say this as not a Donald Trump supporter and not a Joe Biden supporter. I am completely apolitical. I am a Marxist, and I do not believe in our system of supposedly representative democracy. But nevertheless, I understand what goes on in our system. Donald Trump is being subject or has been subject to a hoax with regard to the Russia investigation, and now he's being indicted for taking home boxes of documents supposedly that were classified. Now, let me explain something. The president is the ultimate classifier and declassifier of documents. There is no procedure, there is nothing required. He decides this document is classified, this document is declassified. If he takes a document home and puts it in his bird cage so his birds can poop on it, in effect, that document has been declassified. Don't let anybody tell you anything different. There is no procedure whatsoever that the president has to go through to classify or declassify a document. The second thing is, with regard to these documents that were wanted supposedly by the National Archives, the National Archives has no legal authority to have documents that a president does not willingly or an ex-president does not willingly turn over. Do you understand? The National Archives can request these documents, but it cannot force a president to turn documents over. And any document a president has in his papers is, again, effectively declassified. Now, with regard to the call with President Zelensky, where he asked for a favor, and that favor was to investigate the Bidens, anybody who thinks that was unusual has no idea how international horse trading works. So that's just another nonsense. You have to remember, the main sin that Donald Trump committed was he broke the system by which the parties, Republicans or Democrats, decide who you get to vote for. The primaries in the United States are rigged, and the parties themselves decide who's going to be the nominee. Donald Trump broke that system because he was so popular that the Republican Party eventually had to get behind him because there was no one else who was going to be their standard bearer. That is the only sin he committed. Now, with regard to any of his policies, well, there were some I agreed with and some I didn't. That's the way politics works. And lastly, with regard to, as you remember, his pardoning of people, there is no committee that the president needs to decide who to pardon. The power of the president to pardon is absolute in the Constitution. If he reads about someone in the newspaper who's been subject to an injustice under federal law, he can simply tell someone to get that person on the phone and he will issue the pardon in 2 seconds. There is no requirement that this pardon has to go through a committee or anything else. I know that this indictment is another effort to prevent someone like Donald Trump, who I personally have no doubt that he would win again if he ran for president, from ever doing what he did. In other words, breaking the hold that the two-party system has on who you, the voter, get to decide to vote for. It is absolutely outrageous and completely unfair to the people who support Donald Trump. Now, please remember, this is the establishment closing ranks on someone who basically committed no offense whatsoever, other than not having been part of the system that picked the candidate who was going to run for president. This is what is happening in America, and please pay attention.